So for now, though, let's say hi, Hetty.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, this is a lesson learned.
All right.
Because we were talking earlier about be careful with that mic on what you say.
Why, did you hear something that I shouldn't have said?
No, I was talking and I said, oh, there's Hetty, and how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I kind of like this. This is my first time I've done this. Let me shut the door.
Yeah.
Bye. It's a board meeting.
Yeah. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Good.
Now I'm also going to do something different here. I'm going to put this on some books. Oh, I think it's a little better. Oh.
Oh, there's it. How you doing?
Good. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
All right. Just so you know, this is being recorded, and so anything you say or do will be posted.
Well.
Yeah, so just as a heads up, wanted to let you know. We'll wait till some other folks join and we'll get started. I see Melinda just joined.
Now, are you recording it or is it always recorded?
I chose to record it because we have some participants who can't make it, and so this is kind of part of the blended learning part.
Well, the sad news is, do you recall that I said that I was going to have some challenges being here, and you said, well, work it out?
I do.
Unfortunately, the challenge was board meetings, and they moved them back to 6 o'clock. So I should be able to be here.
All right, fair enough. Hey, Tony, how you doing? Are you en route? You look mobile. Okay, you're on your phone?
Yeah.
Can you hear us all right?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep, we got you. We got Hetty and Dr. Lunger, and Melinda is eating her lunch right now, so she's muted. I'm going to give us a couple more minutes because I had to get that new link out to people. So I'm going to mute my camera. If you guys want to mute your mic or talk amongst yourselves, doesn't matter to me. I'm going to mute my mic and camera. We'll probably get started in a couple minutes.
Hey, before you go,
yeah.
The headset. Are we going to find the more and more if we get into this that's a better way to? It's an easier way to.
Well, see, you have a door on your office, and I think Hetty does too. So I grabbed the headset just because I didn't know what was going to be going on around me. So
got it. Okay.
If you think you might want one, though, we can get you guys one, and you can.
No, I just didn't know. I just didn't know if it actually made for a better way to communicate. Makes you look important.
So. Well, it does. I feel like an air traffic controller.
Yeah, you look like one too.
Thank you. Thank you.
There you go.
Okay. All right.
Goodbye.
So I'm going to mute, and we'll be back in a little bit.
Okay. I'm going to sign off for a minute and clean up my desk, and so I can pay full attention.
Okay, so we're supposed to put it on mute, though?
Yeah, Hetty, if you want to mouse up to the above your picture or above my picture since I'm talking, you should see the microphone button.
And mute it?
Yep, and then the one next to it is the camera, and if you click those and they turn red, that means that they're muted.
What do you think?
Hey, Melinda, do you want to mute your mic? I'm not sure what's going on there. That sounds like you're wrapping up lunch.
Take charge.
There you go. All right, we'll get started in about 30 seconds, guys. It's up to you, depending on your internet connection. If the video is choppy, if things are running kind of slow, then you could mute your camera so that the video is not playing. You'll still see my screen, but you won't be taking up as much space by recording yourself.
Is there a problem when you say talk about? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I gotcha.
When you start talking about taking up space, you said that earlier. What's the so what there?
Well, so I've been on Hangouts before where there's a lot of folks involved, and if my internet connection is not that great, the video can get a little bit choppy. So if I mute my camera like this and just go to audio, then I'm taking up a little bit less internet bandwidth on my end.
Okay.
So you want me to chime in a little bit, Mitch, about this?
Yeah, please.
Okay, this is an advantage of the nice, you got a shadow on your back. This is the advantage of Google Hangouts over Adobe Connect is with the connections. So when you're in Adobe Connect, it connects with the slowest connection. However, Google instead does it with your individual connections. So like I'm on a hotspot, which makes me pretty slow, so I probably won't put my video on just for the fact of if I put my video on, it's going to be choppy for me. But that does not affect any of you because Google keeps the connections individual. So if your video starts getting choppy, just by you turning off your video, you'll probably get a better connection. Nice. Is Mike like making appearances in the background of all the people at the ISD?
I think Mike is making his rounds.
And he came over and photobombed me.
I saw that.
So welcome, Diane and Jim. I saw you guys made it on. Sorry about the link at the end.
Excuse me, I just was interrupted. Photobomb us. Come on. Hello, Mikey.
So here's another little hint with Google Hangouts. You'll notice as people start talking, the screen keeps switching between people, which can be a little bit discombobulating at times. Down at the bottom, you have a bar with everybody's mini picture. If you click on one of those mini pictures, that person stays big on the screen all the time. So I'm clicking on Mitch, so it's outlined in white at the bottom of my screen, and also if other people talk, it's not going to pop back and forth between everybody's video, which is another thing that slows it down sometimes. Or if you're like me, that motion just about makes me ill. So that's something you can do is clicking on that picture at the bottom bar of the person you want it to stay on.
Thanks, Melinda. That's a good tip. Michelle, welcome. I know that you've got to get off early to go to a board meeting. So I think we've got quite a few folks now. We're going to go ahead and get started. Again, if this usually works best on a video call if others mute their microphone while they're not talking. Not that I don't want to hear from you, but sometimes you hear like a dog in the background or whatnot. What's kind of cool about Google Hangout too is that you can see along the bottom those who've muted their microphone, the little icon shows up. So don't be shy if you want to talk and unmute your microphone. You're more than welcome to do that. So I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to perhaps what is your first Google Hangout. You've made it. Melinda told you that this is going to be a beta course because there's some testing along the way. One of those things is I know I learned that the Google Hangout link is only active for a certain amount of time. So the one that I generated and put out there proactively was dead within 8 hours. So we had to do this one again. So we're back and we got it nailed down for next time. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to do that. If you don't have to share your screen, but I'll kind of let you know how I do it. If you hover your mouse over towards the left-hand part of your screen, you'll see a menu that slides out. I'm going to click the green one towards the top that says Screen Share, and it's going to allow me to pick what I want to share. I'm just going to share my entire screen here. So in just a second, you should see my screen. Whoa, my screen pop up. So if any of you guys want to unmute, can you guys see my screen okay?
I can.
Okay, Great, so you guys can see my screen. So what we're going to do is kind of go through and talk about the next portion of this module, which is participation and engaging participants. I'm going to demo just a few tools, and Melinda, feel free to jump in. I don't want to neglect Melinda. Melinda Waffle is joining us. She kind of led the face-to-face session at Branch, down at Branch ISD a couple weeks ago, and so she's going to be co-teaching this class with me, so she's joining us as well. And don't hesitate to jump in if you want, Melinda.
Well, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
By a little show of hands, how many people have even started in the communication part? Tony has. That's about it. So we're moving ahead. I just don't want everybody to leave everything till the very end. So I strongly recommend, if you haven't already, finding some spaces in your calendar and blocking it out for coursework. Because otherwise, I'm worried people get too far behind, and then all of a sudden it's overwhelming, and you're like, I just can't do it. So that's just a suggestion I took to my group that I would recommend to everybody, since I wasn't at the other face-to-face, and I'm sure Mitch has things that he would probably tell my people. And thank you for letting me join, because I think together Mitch and I bring different strengths, so I think we'll give you a better experience, I hope. So there's my 2 cents. Kick in. Sorry, Mitch.
No, thank you. Yeah, so I think what Melinda's referring to is we've kind of been on the Moodle course watching the new glossary entries and taking a look at who's shared what they're thinking of. And some folks have entered those glossary entries to share what they're thinking about doing in terms of communication. And just know that if you haven't started yet, you're not necessarily behind, but hopefully you're starting to think about, what are you going to do in terms of communication, and then tonight we're going to add on participation. So obviously leaving all that until the end might not be the best. So if we can help in any way, I know I've had conversations with a lot of folks just kind of brainstorming what they're going to do for their project for communication. I think that those glossary entries will start to fill in here soon, but yeah, sooner than later for sure is going to be the way to go. So what I wanted to do is you're looking at my screen here, and I've got the Moodle site up. So we've gone through communication. That's what we focused on during the face-to-face kickoff. And here in a little bit, I'm going to have some of you unmute your mics and share what you're planning on doing or what you might do for your communication portion of this activity. What we're hoping is that we're going to show you some new features with participation. Some of these tools are the same as the ones that we kind of discussed during communication. Some are different. So I think that participation and communication pair well together, because if you're communicating with stakeholders, you're also going to want them to properly interact and participate. So with that, I'm going to go to this little document. And this document will be available. This is similar to the communication activity matrix that we designed for the communication portion of this session. It lists video help, text help, newsletter, social media, so on and so forth. These are just possible tools and ways that you might use these tools to engage participants. So I'm going to basically kind of go through and just talk about some of these and demo some of these, and hopefully you'll get some ideas about how you can engage participants. So before I start, does anybody have any questions? I know this can be a little bit awkward if this is your first time. Anybody have any questions before I start on this stuff?
Yes. You hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can you make it just a little bit bigger?
Yeah, thank you.
Did that help? Is that okay, everybody?
Melinda, do you have any tips or tricks on viewing screens? Could I be doing something better? What do you think?
Making it bigger that's good.
Okay, that's the way to go.
I'm looking at it on a 13-inch screen, so it's
okay. Once
you made it larger, it's much better.
All right, cool. Awesome. Yeah. Any of that kind of stuff. This is kind of the part you got to balance with, video conferencing. And I'll be perfectly honest. One thing that makes me really uncomfortable about doing it is that I can't see your body language. I can't see your facial features, and that really, as a presenter and facilitator, kind of helps me. So that's something I usually have to weigh as far as when do I do a face-to-face training or a face-to-face meeting versus a virtual meeting. And so, Melinda, I don't know if you want to add anything to that about kind of that getting over that hump, or if you're just maybe so
Sorry, I
comfortable
was
with it
muted.
right now.
I was muted.
Oh, it's okay.
That's a huge piece, and another piece. A big thing with the virtual meetings when you're having these sessions online to consider is how are you going to make it interactive? So really, like Mitch and I should have some questions or something throughout where we pull examples from you, because otherwise you feel like you're just sitting at the other end and you could have watched a video instead and you would have got the same out of it. So that's a big thing that I try to do in my trainings is how can I make it interactive? And then, like Mitch said, the balance there. I don't know if you see the chat on the side. The other advantage of Mitch and I doing this together, while he's showing his screen, I can watch the chat on the side. So if you have a question and you don't want to interrupt Mitch, but you don't want to forget your question, a trick that I should have said at the beginning is write your question over there in the chat on the side, and then when it's an appropriate time, I can break into Mitch and say, hey, we have this question, let's address it. So having two people kind of lead your meeting and virtually, I also think makes it a lot more successful. So.
Okay, so you say chat on the side. I have 6 right now. What does that mean?
There are 6 new messages because I've put looks like 5 and Mitch has put 1.
And do we mess up? If we click on that, do we mess anything up?
Nope, you don't mess anything up. Did you click on it? Do you see the messages
right now,
over on the side now?
I just want to disconnect. Okay, now the icon's on the left, but the messages came up on the right, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So the group chat opens up on the right-hand side, not the left.
Okay, but the icon to open it up is on the left.
Correct. All the tools will always be over on the left-hand side.
Okay.
Makes 0 sense, right? If
No,
I click on the left, I don't know, it confuses me too.
It's Google.
There you go. So, yeah, Melinda, like I said, jump in if you've got any more tips and tricks. You've done this a lot more than I have, so I'm just happy to have her here to share her expertise. So, just like with the communication face-to-face kickoff that we did, we tried to break this up into topics. So, what ways might you engage participants? Well, we thought maybe newsletters, social media, video conferencing, and then also stakeholder surveys. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of go through these and hit on a few, and then we'll demo a few. And Melinda, if you want to share your screen and do some other demos, you're more than welcome to as well. So in terms of, we talked about blogs last week, and we had the blog. I should go to that. We had the blog that we looked at last week from the principal in Michigan, and that's going to be right here. This is the link to the communication tools. So this is the communication one. So we had the principal's reflection. So we're going to go out to this one. And so we can see here that this principal had a blog post on August 15th. And if we scroll down to the bottom of the blog, one thing in terms of participation is that you could leave comments. So right down here we can see that there are 5 comments on this blog. And here we have folks interacting after they've read the blog. They have posted their thoughts. So this isn't really anything earth-shattering, but if you have something like a blog where you're posting information, one way to get participants to kind of engage would be to offer them the ability to leave comments and then reply back to their comments. You can see there's a reply button here that either the author or another person commenting could use.
Now, I think a key thing here, a lot of these tools are, you might say, duplicated between the two, but part of that is so you can build on it. So you can learn a tool, not have to learn a bunch of different tools, but learn one tool and then start to learn how you can use it for multiple purposes and to meet multiple goals.
So again, we talked a lot about the goal and your purpose at the face-to-face kickoff, and I know that I've talked to several people who kind of sheepishly said, "Well, Mitch, I have an idea for what I want to use, but I'm not sure if it's what we're looking for." And just know this is all about finding your purpose and finding a tool that's going to make what you do more efficient. So we're not thinking that people are going to go create, websites and all sorts of big, huge projects. If it's something that is meaningful to you and it's going to help you be more efficient, then that's your purpose. Awesome. More power to you. So I'm going to jump back to participation. Another tool that we have for participation, and I'm not sure if anybody's using this, would be Google Docs. And so the feature adding comments to a Google Doc. Melinda and I use this actually all the time to collaborate and to participate with each other virtually. And so the idea here is, and I'll just go ahead and add it right in this document, is if I'm reading this, if Melinda sends me kind of a draft of a course outline or a proposal, then I can go ahead with proper permissions and highlight this, go to Insert, and then Comment. And over on the right, I can add a comment. So I'm going to add my comment, and then I'm not sure if you can see on my screen, there's kind of a yellow hue that goes with the text. If I scroll over to the right, then I can see my comment here. What's cool about this from a participation standpoint is that those who can comment on the document will receive a notification through an email that says, hey, Mitch Fowler has added a comment to your document. Click here to check it out. So it's kind of a great way to engage participants if they want to either leave feedback or you want to collaborate on a document when you're not next to each other. Melinda, you want to add anything about comments on Google Docs?
No, I think you did a fine job. I guess one thing I could, when he go mouse over your comment again.
Yeah. Okay.
So when he mouses over, you'll notice it says resolve in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
If I were on this document and looking at the comment underneath, I would have two buttons, and one would be to resolve, and one would be to add another comment. So I can reply, and we can actually have a conversation over here on the sidebar without cluttering up the actual document itself. So we can use Google Docs for collaboration where we can both edit and do things on the document, but there's a lot of times you're working on one and you really want to have a sidebar conversation. Comments are really great for that because then it allows us to have the conversation without having to mess up whatever is on the document itself.
And then from the person who originated the comment standpoint, if Melinda sent me a message back and said, change this or add this, I could go in and do that, and then when I'm done, I could click resolve, and the comment is gone because I have resolved the issue that Melinda pointed out. So adding comments in Google Docs is definitely a great way to get participants to engage with whether it's a staff meeting agenda that you're putting out or a proposal you're putting out and you want participants to kind of engage with it. It's a good way. So social media, this is kind of a bleeds over from the blog that we talked about before. But in terms of social media, engaging participants, we talked about how to comment on a blog. So we've got a link right here to, I believe it's a text. It's an article on how to comment on a blog. But then we also have Twitter and Facebook. So we talked about Twitter last time at the face-to-face session about how you can search for these things called hashtags, which will bring up information that is related. On Facebook, we talked about how you could create your own page and then have stakeholders share their comments. I know that that's something that Michelle mentioned she's doing with Penfield Middle School. So I wanted to just real quick kind of go in and show you on Twitter one way to engage participants. So I'm going to go ahead and go on to Twitter here. And I'll make this a little bit bigger. All right, so we talked about last time on Twitter, I can search for some hashtags. Let's do this little pound sign, and let's go data. I want to search for any tweets that have the tag data in them. This is all sorts. I probably should have been more specific, but this is all stuff that has the hashtag data in it right here. So one thing I can do.
You're talking about in the Twitter universe?
In the Twitterverse, that's right. That's right. So
there's There's thousands and thousands of these, I take it.
Yeah, so what was the one that we looked at last time? Was it Cadillac or was it some
Oh, I forgot.
car lingo? You had some kind of engineer that was, I'm trying to think. Let's do hashtag bold cars.
Why don't you do data and assessments?
Okay,
I'm
thank
sure
you. That's
that'll pop some
a
stuff
work-related
up.
one. A work-related one. Data and all right, so data and assessment, teacher tools, tools for success, Illuminate Ed. So this hashtag is going to bring this up, and if I say, wow, this is kind of a cool article, I want to share this with other folks, then I can go and I can either reply to this person, and I can say something like, hey, thanks for sharing. And I can tweet that, and then it will let this person know that Mitch Fowler has replied to one of her tweets. I don't really want to do that. The other one, too, is I could retweet this. In other words, I can take this person's tweet and I could kind of push it out to the people who follow me. So it's kind of like recycling this information and pushing it out to other folks. So in terms of engaging participants, if I'm a principal or if I'm an administrator and I have a Twitter account, I'm hoping that people are going to reply to my tweets if they maybe have responses or input about what I'm tweeting, or they might be retweeting my tweet so that they can share it with their other folks, and so the information kind of spreads. So that was one way we thought that Twitter might allow you to engage participants through the reply and retweet. Moving on to Facebook, this is pretty straightforward, commenting and sharing. So if I go, let's see here, let's go to Penfield Middle School Facebook. Oops, let's try that again. All right, so Penfield Middle School Facebook. Let me zoom in for you. So this is Michelle's page. You can see that she has 469 likes. If we scroll back, scroll down here, what's that?
Well, I just didn't see what I thought I saw. Never mind. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I see it now.
Okay. So that means that 469 people on Facebook have liked this Penfield Middle School page. So anytime Michelle posts one of these posts right here, it will go out to those folks and it will show up on their news feed. So you can see that people have commented on this. So we'll also have an open house on Wednesday, August 27th, and somebody else commented. So Raven Morgan says, my daughter's camping until later that Friday. So this is where Michelle could get on and put more information. You can also share this post. So if you want to take this post and share it with other people that you have on Facebook, then they will be able to see this as well. The sharing is pretty much like retweeting is on Twitter. Melinda, any Twitter, Facebook participant thoughts?
I'm talking to a muted mic there, sorry. I know at our face-to-face we talk quite a bit about having, before you start really using Twitter or Facebook, having some protocols or guidelines in your head for how you're going to use it. Because, in fact, we spent a lot of time on social media at our session. Mm-hmm. Just because that will help guide how you use it, but it will also then let you, I guess moderates the word, your accounts to make sure that they're being used how you want to. So if they're kind of all over the place, as an example was shared in our face-to-face, it can go south really fast. So I did give them the example of the Brentfield Police Department, and I'm going to go back and actually take a screenshot of a commenting session in there.
Okay.
Because he periodically reminds people about the protocol on the site. He does it about once a month. Just says, hey, this is our protocol. If you're swearing or if you're inappropriate, it will be blocked, but as long as you're being appropriate, we can have dialogue even when we disagree. So It's just, I know a lot of people are very leery about the participation piece in social media. It can be very, very powerful, but like anything else, it can go south, especially if you don't have in your mind kind of, or even written, really, kind of the protocols you want to surround it and how you want it to be used.
So,
Mitch?
yeah, go ahead.
Perhaps you or Melinda could answer this question.
Okay.
Could you discuss how you could use Twitter as a back channel for collecting information from participants that may be in PD?
Ooh, that's a good one. Melinda, I can take that one.
You can or I can. Either way. I do it a lot, so either way. I think Mark muted you. He didn't want to hear you. So as far as the back channel with Twitter, because it looks like Mitch is muted right now, what Twitter does, and this is where the hashtags more originated. They're showing up in Facebook more and more, I notice, but they really have been used for. We're getting funky screen. And the hashtag is kind of basically a tag in Twitter so that people can search for a topic and they don't have to know what people are associated with it. So, for instance, when we're at the McCall conference, we always have a hashtag for the conference. So even people who do not have Twitter accounts can go to Twitter, and Mitch, can you type it in that search Twitter bar at the top?
Yeah.
You type hashtag McCall14, and people even use the tag outside the conference. But they can do a search, and they can pull up all these tweets about the conference or about whatever's going on. So a lot of us now, we did it with Google Camp. A lot of the PDs I do now will say, okay, this is the hashtag. If you're on Twitter and tweeting about things going on, add this hashtag to your tweet, and then we can share resources and ideas and stuff about it together, or for people who can't be there. And I will tell you, I know a lot of people who attend conferences virtually just via the hashtag. If you do ISTE14, ISTE14, or 2014 it looked like it was, ISTE is a huge conference. I was very privileged to be able to attend this year. What was funny, though, despite the fact that there were about 16,000 people attending the conference, I had more people contacting me personally who attended it virtually by following the hashtag and seeing what people were learning about and seeing what resources were shared. So it can be a beautiful thing. Now, in a smaller setting, like if I'm running a PD and I know I have Twitter users, we'll use Twitter just in a meeting as a back channel for questions or ideas that come up that would derail the meeting, so kind of our parking lot area, but we don't want them lost. So if people have extensions to whatever the person speaking is talking about, those things will all go on a Twitter feed that we can then capture. I know Mishad, the chats that happen, you can then archive them and have them later and refer to them later, or in the case of my meetings, answer those questions in a timely manner that doesn't kind of take everybody off on a path that the time originally wasn't meant for. So does that help, Tony? Have I done kind of a thorough job?
Very thorough. Thank you.
Melinda, I don't know, are you able to hear me now?
What? I'm sorry, my son started yelling.
Oh, no problem. I just want to make sure I was back on. Sorry, I think I hit the mute button. I was trying to search and unsuccessfully. So one of the things that I did with my classroom when I taught U.S. history in 8th grade is they were able to get on Twitter, and they actually created Twitter accounts. We had permission slips from parents and stuff like that. But what I did was I had 2 or 3 tweeters, if you will, who would kind of post these tweets during class, and the tweets would really be just kind of notes or important things that they wanted to make sure other people knew. So in terms of what Tony was saying is that I think it's hard to kind of, and it's challenging to take in information and then synthesize it and then tweet it back out. So for a lot of my students, that was kind of an exercise that helped them think a little bit deeper about what we were doing that day. So that was kind of my experience. All right. So right now, I mean, this is a good example of engaging participants, and this is through a Google Hangout. So we've got folks who are connected from Berry County, from Calhoun County, who are located all throughout those counties, who are able to come to this meeting, and that's possible because of Google Hangout. So I'm not going to spend too much time kind of going over these resources. If a Google Hangout is something that you want to try, I would recommend looking at these, and then obviously letting Melinda and I know if you've got questions. Running around the building today, I know that I met with several folks doing a practice Google Hangout, and then trying to get things right. So there's definitely a lot of getting used to when it comes to video conferencing. Okay, let's talk about surveys. So I'm sure that most administrators at some point or another are looking to either get student feedback, parent feedback, community feedback. I know that it's kind of a mandated portion of the school improvement process to get stakeholder feedback. So one of the things that I have shared here would be, I've got 3 tools, Poll Everywhere, Google Forms, and SurveyMonkey. And so all of these 3 pretty much do the same thing. They collect information from participants. So the difference would be if you want a quick survey, and I'll give you an example here. So this is a quick Poll Everywhere survey that I did with some teachers from Lakeview. I would like for you to go away. Let's stop that. I'm not sure why this is showing up. All right. If you would just ignore this, I'm not sure what's going on there. What I did was I asked folks to briefly describe in 10 words or less one job function within their role as a team leader or tech coach at Lakeview Schools. And so we started the PD with this, and what they did is they went to this link up here, and they entered their responses. So we can see rolling up here, these are their responses. People can also text their response with this code to this number, and then that's how you can collect their responses. It's kind of like if you watch like The Voice or American Idol or something like that. You can vote with your phone by texting a number. It's kind of the same idea. So I found that Poll Everywhere can be a nice tool if you want to collect some quick feedback, but in most cases it's anonymous. So and you can see there's only one question that I have up here. So if I want to ask multiple questions to folks, then this probably isn't the way to go. But it's just one quick way to get feedback. I've seen folks who have started staff meetings with kind of an activator type question. Share one positive thing that's happened this week. Then it's kind of a way to engage those participants. The last 2, SurveyMonkey and Google Forms. I'm not sure, has anybody else used either of those 2 or Zoomerang that's on the call?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we've used it, but Renee, unfortunately, Renee does it, but we've utilized that as a tool.
Okay. Does anybody want to share just what they've used those for in the past?
I use SurveyMonkey quite a bit. I know we moved to Google Forms, but with the non-traditional career fair, I just believe that SurveyMonkey allows for me to just aggregate data, and I have a lot of surveys already completed in SurveyMonkey, so I can access that information in a timely fashion. And there's more features on SurveyMonkey than on Google Forms. So it's a slight cost, but for me, I prefer SurveyMonkey.
Good. Yeah, I think Tony hit on something important, and that is that there are lots more features on SurveyMonkey in terms of graphs that are created and ways to slice and dice the data. There is a slight cost that's associated with it. So some folks would prefer Google Forms, but both tools are really pretty good if you're just trying to get information back from stakeholders that can either be a rating type data, selecting multiple choice questions, or just entering in, a text box with their feedback. Anybody else have an example of how they've used those tools?
I used Google Forms, and I've also used SurveyMonkey, and they both worked pretty much the same. They had different choices. That I've used it for some county-wide surveys, and actually didn't have any problems with people returning them.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, sometimes it's a technical issues that they can't access, so that was very good with Google. Mm-hmm.
Now I know Tony and I attended a PD, oh goodness, maybe end of last winter over in Washtenaw County, and they had a very elaborate senior exit survey system. I can't recall if they used SurveyMonkey or Zoomerang or just Google Forms, but I found that organizations that have a good system of collecting feedback and engaging participants can use these tools to really make some solid decisions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, so those are just a few of some tools that we wanted to go through to help possibly engage participants. The reason we're doing this right now, obviously, is because if we go back to the Moodle page, right here, I'll zoom in again. You'll recall that we had the communication face-to-face portion, which is right here. That's what you've been working on so far, and then I've just opened up the participation section. So what we're hoping is that you're going to take the information that you got from this Hangout in terms of tools about participation and what you got from the face-to-face session, which dealt with communication, and come up with some type of an artifact that pairs the two together. So this is kind of the time when I wanted folks to share what very draft ideas they have for what they're going to produce for this module. So if you wanted to, we can just, I could call on people at random, but I'd rather have you guys just, if you want to unmute and share what you're thinking, then hopefully we can.
I'll go first because I think mine's going to be simple. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
One of the issues I've had is I think Google Docs for me has kind of been like the Wild West. It isn't as much order as control. I just don't feel it. I think what we choose to do on our own versus what we share. I think when you get into the shared territories where it gets kind of wild. But what I thought I would do is, as a communication tool in my project, was first of all learn to manage the Google Docs and rely more on that than I do currently how I share things on the shared drive or save things in the shared drive, and then do my superintendent staff update and send an email out, but have it a link to the Google Doc, or however we link it out. But I have to learn to do that. I'm using it more than I probably know because we use it at cabinet, but I don't. Again, it's how I'm archiving and saving the files. I don't feel that there's an order to it. So two things, and one would be the staff update and using Google Docs to relay the information, and also just getting a better handle on cabinet agendas and how we utilize that document for cabinet. And also, I thought was kind of neat would be to maybe we have 2 cabinet meetings a month. Maybe for our agenda setting meeting, the first cabinet meeting could be on a Google Hangout.
Nice.
Time is of the essence for everybody. And in short, Lynn, are you nodding your head?
Yeah, that's a great idea.
We'll see how that flies. But that might, even if we tried it, just maybe every other month or so. The other thing too is now I'm thinking about it is we've had a couple times we've had to cancel meetings because if we have more than 2 cabinet members gone, we just go rely on the one-on-one meetings I have with them. But perhaps they could easily call in from another location, even if for a short time, just calling in through Google Hangout.
Great.
I'm just gonna kind of pop in on the tail end of that because it's something I've talked to about, and I think we talked about it at the face-to-face at Branch Area Career Center when we met too, is the fact that especially in districts where you have multiple schools that are not close to each other, a lot of time lost is travel time. And the fact that if some basic things can be covered through these virtual meetings where you gain that travel time back, it is a great way to increase efficiency as far as having more time. And I don't know of any administrator who is not looking for more time. So even if you think some of the smaller schools where the elementary schools are quite a distance and it's winter and you have bad roads, the ability to be able to connect virtually and cover things that don't need a lot of discussion, because you think of a lot of meetings and how much of it is just kind of housekeeping things that are being addressed more than pieces that need a heavy debate or examples. By eliminating that from other meetings through virtual sessions, the amount of time that can be gained back because travel isn't an issue is just huge.
Thanks. So
quick wrap up, because everybody else wants to churn, but I was just thinking too often you talked about just general meetings with basic stuff, but also getting everybody together if there's a problem, you know, that you need to face-to-face, you know, the old 22-minute meeting plan where you just need to get everybody together to quickly go through some stuff that's come up. This is another tool that I've not utilized at all. Thank you.
Great, great. Anybody else? Thoughts on what you might use for this project?
One of the things that we've talked about here at STAR is just when we're trying to kind of put together some of the activities that we do, rather than trying to get everybody in the same area, it would just be easier if we could just kind of put that information all together and kind of have that dialogue much more quickly than trying to arrange a meeting. Because we have like special events like Black History Luncheon, and we have you know, Septemberfest coming up, and those kind, and Reality Store, those kinds of things. Everybody has to bring so much to the table. If you're in your own office area, you've got it right there. You can still reference it.
I think that's a great idea. I know that Melinda and I have been involved in quite a few conferences that Mike has put together as part of our team, and some of the planning meetings, when we look at our calendar, we just can't be in the same place. So like you said, if you've got a festival or you've got something coming up, just getting on a hangout for maybe 30 minutes so that you all can touch base and make sure everybody has their stuff together. That's a great idea. All right.
I'll go next.
Okay.
I'm going to create a site, a website, and the tool that I'm going to use is Collaborate. I'm actually in the process, about 10%. I'm excited about it, and the manner in which I'm going to use it is I'm going to have a portion of the site dedicated to the American School Counseling Association National Model and applying for RAMP, all the steps necessary that counselors need to adhere to get the certification. That's going to cut down on the number of times that I'm meeting with principals and counseling teams, because they're constantly asking me for handouts, references, and data, and a host of other things related to RAMP. So I'll have all that information housed on the website, including videos. The other two portions of the site will be dedicated to the national model, which will be information on academic, career, and social, emotional, how counselors can impact those areas. And then throughout the year, I will have some hangouts that I will post on there, in which the team, whoever wants to be the first 15 that sign up, it may be play therapy, and we'll have someone discuss that throughout the state in southwestern Michigan to go over some of that information. And all of our PD throughout the year will be listed on that site as well. So it would basically be Myers. You can go buy a suit and get a steak.
So Tony really is kind of taking this and using that Collaborate tool to create a landing page for many facets of his job. And the efficiency part is that it's all going to be in one spot. He's already had past success in creating spaces where he's kind of housed materials, and unfortunately the cost of those spaces previously has gone up. So he's yeah, I think you're onto something that's going to save you a lot of time. Next.
I'll go next.
Okay, Jim.
I've got a lot of information that in my responsibilities at the juvenile home that probably would be better put out to the whole staff there, as far as kind of some of the release dates and comings and goings of our kids, our clients there, and information on map testing that we've done, that sort of thing. So I'm looking at sharing a folder that staff will be invited to, so it keeps it kind of contained and not open to everybody, but yet available to them. And just being able to kind of refresh the information in there.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it changes 2 or 3 times a week with people moving in and out of the programs and that kind of thing, and just additional information that we put in there. And then another part that I'm looking at too is that I have taken on some responsibilities as far as trying to get new apps and things requested by the teachers onto the student iPads. And I've made kind of a Google form to gather that information instead of getting individual sheets of paper and stuff at the staff meetings that get lost and misplaced, and where I not able to do the follow-up on them, that kind of thing. So I'm looking at how to kind of where I can place that so that it's a good, the staff can access that if it's a link inside a shared folder, or if I should do a blog or a Google site or something like that where they could go to that and then click on the link, and I can put other links and resources out there too. So just kind of what I'm thinking about.
Nice. So it sounds like there's a kind of this theme of information management. We've got meeting agendas or updates to staff or videos, and so really trying to figure out the best way to organize those so that, well, first of all, so that you can get back to them, so that you know how they're organized, but then also how other people can do that. So you're not getting 20 emails, hey, where do I find the notes, or where do I find this or that? So I like the theme.
Right.
Hey, Lynn, do you think that's kind of a good segue into what we talked about earlier? Do you mind sharing what we talked about? I'm not trying to paint you into a corner. You can change your mind if you want, but I feel like that goes along with what we talked about.
It does, and it actually probably added a little more work to me. Thank you, Jim. You gave me some great ideas. But we have been putting out a newsletter for the past 3 years, and if I put it on Google, then I can reduce about 3 steps, which really is a time saver for my staff. So Mitch and I talked earlier about just sending it out to those that write the articles and letting them know through a link that they can insert their article right in the Google Doc and then send it to the staff. That way we don't have the articles coming to us. We type them or re-image them and then send them back out to the staff. But I liked what Jim said about a folder, and it'd be nice to be able to document all the articles from the previous years, get them uploaded into that folder so the staff have access to them.
Excellent. Diane, thoughts?
Well, I have created a Facebook page that I've used for a couple of years, but it's kind of getting muddy and messy because I'm accessing more teacher resources. So I think I'm intending to start a new Facebook page that's more organized and directly for parents, and then keep my group for the teachers where I can share resources to them, and then I can share resources on the Facebook page that apply to parents but may not be it wouldn't be every teaching resource. Some things parents can use at home or ideas. What I was really intrigued by was if that, then this, and being able to do it in one spot and not having to go, because we put our newsletter and our bulletin in 22 different places, it feels like, and I just want to do it once and have it go everywhere it needs to go. I use a lot of Google Forms already, like probably too much. My staff probably sick of it, but I'd like to get more efficient and maybe use some different ways to collect data where I can demonstrate things they can do in the classroom. So those are kind of the 2 goals I have for myself.
Excellent. And so I can't remember in our face-to-face if we talked about IFTTT, which is the service that allows you to post something one place, perhaps on a blog, and then we'll put it other places, perhaps on Twitter or Facebook, lots of other places. So what I love about this is that everybody is at a different spot, and that's exactly what we were hoping for, because we really want you to identify your need and then pair a technology tool with your need. So I'm excited. I think you guys have a lot of yeah, you're on the right track. With that, I think I've kind of gone through. We wanted to hear what you are thinking about for your project, and then also take a look at those participation activities. So from this point, I don't really have anything else for you. Just that, what's coming up next in the course is to keep working on those projects. And let me share my screen again so that I can show you on the. Let's see here. So on the course, we have the communication piece, which is this little book that gives you some information about communication. We have this glossary where we'd like for you to add a couple entries about what you're thinking you might use communication-wise, and a lot of you already have ideas there. This planning document is meant to kind of help you walk through the pieces to your plan, and then finally we have a learning artifact where you are going to share whatever it is you create. The new information that we have is this book, which is about participation. Very similar to communication, except we've just introduced information that's about participation. This participation possibilities is the same type of glossary. Hopefully you're going to go in and say, okay, well, these are a couple tools that I might use to engage participants. And then the planning document is the same thing as the communication planning document, and that is if we want to add a planning or a participation part to this this venture, then these are some things to think about. So I think the bottom line is here, the next time we get together is, let me go up to our calendar. Right now is the 20th. So if we go to September 3rd is the next Google Hangout that we have, and so we're hoping that by that time, you've gone through the communication stuff, you've gone through the participation stuff, you've started putting together this project, because as you'll recall, on September 17th, that's when we'll come back together face-to-face and you will share with the group what you have come up with. So with that information, what questions do you have about what's next? Okay. Well, if there aren't any other questions, then Melinda and I will be in the course and kind of seeing how you're doing, checking up on you, supporting you. That's a better way to say that. Supporting you, not checking up on you. Otherwise, feel free to let us know via email how we can help if you want to have a little conversation to brainstorm and hash out some I guess, features or ideas that you have for this project. Let us know. In a second here, I'm going to click Stop Broadcast, and that's going to kind of terminate the call. This recording will be posted on my YouTube channel, and so then I'll be able to share this out with the folks who weren't here. You're always welcome to go back and rewatch it if you wanted to say, hey, what was that Poll Everywhere site that Mitch showed?
We'll also put a link to it in the course, so it'll be in the course as well.
Thank you, Belinda. Otherwise, if this was your first Hangout, this was wildly successful, in my opinion. So thank you for taking the risk, and I look forward to keeping this journey going. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Mitch.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.